Good morning everyone. Lovely to be back doing another little short video with you. Thank you to everyone that's subscribed. It's been amazing. You know, it's just, I'm stunned that people want to listen to me witter on about quilting. Anyway, I enjoy it. It is my passion and it is my life. So I'm Sallieann Harrison. I'm a patchwork and quilting tutor based in the UK in Bristol. I've been teaching patchwork and quilting for about 20 years. Gosh, that makes me feel really old. And I also present and design as well. I started to design for Sewing Street TV, which is a job I really love doing. I also have a website, Sallieannquilts.com, and you can find me on Facebook as Sallieann Harrison Quilter, and on Instagram as well as Sallieann Quilts. So yeah, I like to post a lot of pictures. I am a self-confessed colour junkie. I love colour, and I think that's what has driven my passion for patchwork and quilting. Today I'm going to talk about a variety of different objects. Sorry about my clock dinging. I'm going to talk about a variety of different things that are in process, crafty items that are in process or finished, some of the problems I've encountered with them, and give you some idea on makes and different things that you could possibly do and make with stitch. There's going to be a crochet item as well and a couple of quilts. So let's get going, shall we? So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is a piece. So I put a recent header on my Facebook page, which is a piece of chenille work, and everyone seemed to quite like it. It was my first time ever making anything. Well, actually that's not true. I made a baby quilt and used the chenilling technique. You can look it up on YouTube. This is what I made out of a panel. So if I just hold it up, excuse me whilst I disappear a minute. So all I've done with this is I've bought a panel, which is obviously the floral design, and then I have layered it up. So underneath my panel, I have a piece of beige fabric, which you probably can't see, some plain beige fabric, and also some pink. Can you see that on the edge? So basically it's linen, pink fabric, beige panel, just all layered up together. And then I have diagonally sewn it on the diagonal. Let's just get a real, sewn it on the diagonal using, looks like a cream thread, I'd say that's every half an inch, going across the entire piece. So I probably layered it using a little bit of, actually I was going to say I layered it using 505, but I don't think I did because that wouldn't have helped the chenilling technique. So it's just layered and then sewn on a diagonal on the sewing machine. And then you just go in and you cut between the lines of stitching. So you just take a sharp pair of scissors and cut up between the lines. Now I'm pretty certain as well to finish this off, I would have wet it just slightly, sprayed it, and then popped it in the tumble dryer just to sort of bring up the texture in the piece. Can you see? So yeah, so that's got like a fluffy, nice texture. It's very tactile to touch. Now you could use that now, perhaps in the middle of a quilt or as a cushion, and it would make a really nice cushion. You could just do an envelope back on it and it would look lovely on a bed in a bedroom. I know that you can get proper chenille cutters which allow you to, and then you hold the piece flat and you insert the cutter and it helps you cut between the rows. But I mean, I don't possess one, but if you were going to do a lot of chenilling, then perhaps it might be worth investing in that chenille cutter. But otherwise, I just use a sharp pair of Karen K. Buckley scissors. I'm a big fan. So these are one of my favourites, the Karen K. Buckley ones. So they would just go between the layers. Okay, yeah, so that's a little bit about chenilling and the chenille technique. Okay, you've got your coffee because I'm going on to the next thing now. Right, the next thing. Some of you might know that I've recently started something called a little pattern club. And I've been amazed how many people want to make little things. I mean, I must admit, although I enjoy making big quilts, I also enjoy making small items. Sometimes you just need that quick fix to make something and get that, yeah, I made that. You know, it's just a small item. So I've started to produce patterns. So far I've produced the cherry tub, the Liberty chain needle case, a Christmas wreath, and a heartstrings pouch. Now all of them, they're a little bit different. I'm not somebody who sort of produces an EPP pattern and does something all PP. I like to combine a couple of techniques in one small project. I think that helps sort of, for me, I like the challenge of learning new things, and sometimes I get a little bit bored, you know, if I'm sort of like this EPP one piece after another, after another, after another. I like to change it up and go for a different technique on top of perhaps the EPP. So sort of melding, is that a word? Putting those techniques together to sort of make something interesting. Now, I have been playing in the pattern club with vinyl recently, clear plastic vinyl, because I was amazed at how much I could do with that. And also the Liberty chain needle case uses like a folded patchwork technique. Now, what I've done is I've combined the folded patchwork with the vinyl and come up with something like this. So this is what I am calling my little pink makeup bag. Can you see? It's actually, so it's folded patchwork onto a piece of clear vinyl. Okay, so I'll just open it up a bit for you so you can see inside. So because I don't think you can see it particularly well in the photos. Can you see it's clear and you can see through it? And then there's just a, we'll see some bits and pieces in there, but yeah. So the folded patchwork front, there's a little close-up of that. I've also beaded it with some pearl beads, which I bought from Amazon. They're actually just little stick-on beads. They were really quite reasonable, something like £10. I bought like 1,000, I'm saying, all of different sizes, and they're stuck on sheets. They're little stick-on ones, but I've actually stuck them. I've made sure that they're stuck on, not just using their little sticky backing. I've added some high-tack glue to them to make sure that they're actually firmly on there. So they're stuck on there at the apexes. It's surprisingly easy to do, and I thought that my machine would really dislike this clear vinyl. I really did. I thought, you know, I'm gonna have to get a Teflon foot, I'm gonna have to get a special needle, it's gonna be really difficult to play with. But surprisingly it wasn't. You know, the machine was fine. I just used an ordinary Microtex needle and an ordinary 1/4 inch foot. I did use a stiletto though, because it's actually sewn on machine. I did use a stiletto to help me peel back so that to reveal the little windows in this one. And I finished it off with this little bit of rickrack and a vintage button, and the back is just quilted crosshatched. And I've added my made by label. Yeah, and I absolutely love it. It's great. Would make an absolutely fantastic present for girlfriends for Christmas. I mean, I've got makeup in it, but you could put anything in it you wanted really. You could put sewing notions in there. Would work equally well. So that pattern will go on my website either today or tomorrow. Yeah, so if you're interested, it's sallieannquilts.com. Anyway, that's my Okay, so next item. Well, and I did notice then that the clock dinged again, and I'm looking at the timer, I'm thinking we're only 10 minutes in and it's actually chimed twice. So I think strange things are happening with time. Perhaps it's to do with the lockdown, I don't know. Anyhow, the other things, you can probably see behind me actually, I've got some crochet bunting. The other thing I really enjoy doing is crochet. I am a big crochet fan, and I tend to, saying it again, I tend to like little projects rather than, I've made a couple of blankets, but I still enjoy making little projects, and I enjoy making little kiddies' clothes. I discovered on Etsy, there's a lady called I think it's Mon Petit Violon, this French name, and she has a whole range of gorgeous crochet patterns for babies, children and adults as well. There's loads of them on there, and the instructions are really great, and you can just download them as a PDF from Etsy, and they're really clear and easy to use. And I had some wool left over from a blanket, from a crochet blanket. Now I'm guessing that it's, I'm pretty certain that it is actually, that it's Mrs. Moon. She's a UK wool stockist, and she sells some gorgeous, slightly expensive wool and yarn. I think this might be from Plump. Anyway, I'm talking about it and I'm still not showing you. So this is the little cardigan that I've finished. Just finished it this week. Really enjoyed making it. Just a little thing to have on your lap in front of the TV whilst my husband's watching all that sport. Yeah. So it's got little cream, I don't know, clusters, can you see? Sort of a little, it comes, perhaps this relates to my love of pom-poms, but I mean this looks like, I can't remember the name of the stitch, whether it's a cluster or a pom-pom, but obviously that features all the way around, and then it's sort of like tealy colour wool, and it's very, very tactile, very, nice to work with. I don't know, I particularly find that about crochet, that I enjoy the feel of it. The feel of it is very relaxing, the methodical feel of it, and if you're working with a particularly nice high-end yarn, it makes it even better. So yeah, it's got a little collar with a little crochet trim. Can you see? Come close. And then I finished it off with some buttons. So these were just vintage buttons that I had in my stash. So I used those up. I obviously only had 2 of that one and 1 of that one, but I quite like the fact that it makes it a little bit quirky. And I popped those on there. There we go. You can just see a little bit more inside. I must admit, I was looking at it again this morning and I was thinking, I wonder if I'm not sure whether there's a right or a wrong side to this piece. The more I looked at it, the more confused I became. But I think this is probably like a 0 to 3 months item. And yeah, you can find the Mon Petit Violon on Etsy. So that's my crochet adventure for the week. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to work out on the camera, but I've got a couple of other quilty pieces that I've been working on that are just, what do we call them? Works in progress. Yes, works in progress. For quite a while. I did tend to have quite a few things on the go at the same time, and because I enjoy dipping from one thing to the other. And I enjoy the fact that when I get up in the morning, I can choose, am I going to do some more of this? Am I going to do some more of that one? So I like to have a few things on the go. I won't say how many. Okay, so let's see how this is going to show up. So I've been working for some time. I don't know if anyone's come across the Temecula Quilt Company. So the Temecula Quilt Company is based in California. I've actually been there twice. So lovely little shop. But their online the shop is very small, and their online presence, I would say, is very big, and they've got a lot of followers. They tend to steer towards a sort of Civil War type look, you know, vintage looking quilts. Yeah, I absolutely adore their stuff, and they often do little quilt-alongs or free patterns, or you know, that sort of thing that you can join in with. You can find them on Instagram quite a lot. I just put in hashtag Temecula Quilt Company. I would imagine that quite a lot of things will come up. And as I say, if you go to their website, Temecula Quilt Company, you'll find loads of stuff on there. So they sell patterns. I don't know if they do PDF downloads, but they certainly do paper patterns because I have some. And yes, they do online quilt-alongs. It tend to be seasonally related. Anyway, I started this one. Can't remember what it's called. It's just like circles. It's very, very straightforward. Yeah. So it's a very straightforward block. It's basically, you've got a center square surrounded by 4 strips. So you put the side strips on, the top and bottom strips on, and then to take off the corners, you just put a square across each corner and then sew across it. And that gives you the almost like O effect. So here I've got a couple of strips that I've made and sewn together. So let's be brave and show you the back. So that's my, so you can just see how the seams perhaps are nesting together. So when I'm doing something like this, which is meant to look a little bit more random, I do try for a balance of colour. And one of the things I will do is I get out my Civil War fabric and I will put it into little piles of colour. Brown, pink, yellow, whatever, right across the range. And I generally have a little pile of 7 different colours, and then I go through methodically and I'll do one of the reds, one of the yellows, one of the greens, so that I actually achieve a balance across the quilt. If I don't do that, I've discovered that I end up with quilts with lots of blue in, because I'm a bit of a blue fan. So yeah, it makes me stick to a process. There we go. Anyway, that's part of it. I'll show you. So I've been doing that for a while. I've made lots of rows. I would say I'm probably 80% there. And then I decided I'd throw in a curveball, something different. So I've got some tapestry pieces, some vintage tapestry. And I'm thinking to myself, I had a panel that I really loved. And I looked at the colours in the panel. And I looked at the colours that I was putting together in the Civil War Temecula Quilt Company quilt. And I decided to blend the two. So what I have so far, and as I say, it's nearly done. Here is the tapestry panel. And I mean, no one's ever said you can't use tapestry in a quilt. If you're going to put it on a wall, it's going to be fine, isn't it? So here is my tapestry panel. Okay. Hold it up again. And here you can begin to see how it's blending with the quilt, and I am pretty pleased with that. I really think it's going to work. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with it when it's done. If I sort of screw it up perhaps a bit more, it gives you more idea of colours and how they're working together. Can you see? So I am really super chuffed with the way that that's coming together, and I just need to put a few more rows on and then I'm done. But I often find towards, I don't know if anybody else has discovered this, but towards the end of a project, So it becomes a bit like a friend, and you slow down towards the end because you almost don't want it to be over. That sounds a bit pathetic, doesn't it? But I do definitely find that towards the end, in the middle I get really excited, I can see it coming together, but towards the end, and I know it's nearly over, I slow down a bit, and yeah. So anyway, so watch this space. Hopefully over the next couple of weeks I should get this one finished off, because it is so nearly there. Yeah, I've fussy cut like a little piece of a different blue fabric into that to give it almost like a lacy effect. But the panel, going back to the tapestry panel, I think I paid something like £7 on eBay for it. I bet it was intended for a chair or a cushion. I bet it never thought it would end up this way. Once it's done though, I'm going to have to think about how I'm going to quilt it, so that'll be fun. Okay. Last item for today. Oh, hang on. It's got caught under my chair. I wanted to talk a little bit about this quilt, which I've had. I started the blocks when I did a class in Houston at the International Quilt Show. I took a class there from a lovely lady and on New York Beauty. And I made a few blocks in the class, foundation pieced. And then I came home, fiddled around with them, and had to come up with a setting for them. So this is the setting that I came up with, my New York Beauty. So this is a blue and white. I don't know how far I can zoom it. What's that? Okay. So basically it's the New York Beauty blocks. I think there's going to be 3 in each one going round, 4 in the centre one. And then I've put just a simple flying geese border all the way around. As you can see, it's not finished. I haven't tidied up the edges. Now, one of the things that I have done, I taught this quilt as a class probably about 3 or 4 years ago now, and people really seem to like it, so that was good. But one of the things I've done more recently is play around with the quilting on it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it close enough to the camera, because the quilting hasn't gone as I hoped. So I'll try and give you a close-up. So I don't know if you can see, I've started to freehand feathers into it. So I've used a bottom line thread. Grey it is. I tend to use it a lot. Superior threads, bottom line. So I've used that thread and I've freehanded in some feathers into a circle. And then also I've done some stippling in between the spokes of the New York Beauty. You see? Well, you see, that is the problem as far as I'm concerned. So I put a lot of effort in. And because of the colour, it doesn't really show. So it's a conundrum. So I'll show you the back, because the back looks better than the front. So here is the back. Can you see the back? See, now you can see all the quilting. I'll take you to the middle block. Okay. So it's been a learning curve. I didn't want to, I knew I had the option when I started of using like a heavier weight thread, but I didn't really want to obliterate my piecing. So you've got, when you're considering quilting on a quilt, you've got to decide, you know, what you want to bring forward, what you want to bring back, what you want to highlight. And I didn't really want to override the sharp points and the precisionness of it with some quilting, some loud quilting. So I went for some very subtle quilting, and in fact it was so subtle that it doesn't actually show a lot. So I've got to make some decisions on where I'm going to go with it now and how I'm going to finish it off. I haven't done anything yet in the geese units, but obviously I'm going to have to balance it out. It's one of the things I see quite often with quilts, is that people like to quilt a particular area and then don't quilt another one. It's very important that you actually balance the level of quilting out, so the level of quilting is even-ish throughout the whole piece so that it hangs well. As if you're going to, you know, quilt loads and loads on that particular geese unit and nothing over on the borders, particularly borders. I see that more and more often, is that people quilt all the elements, the piece elements in the middle of a quilt, and then whack on a border, which they then don't quilt at all. And then the border just doesn't blend with the rest of the piece. So yeah, that's something to look out for. But yeah, decisions to be made on this one. So that was my final piece for today. As I said, you can look out for me on Sewing Street. I'm next on Sewing Street on the 6th of October. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and also on my website, sallieannquilts.com. Thank you to everybody that's actually listening to me wittering on and subscribing. It's great to sit with you and have a chat about sewing items, you know, sewing full stop. At the moment I'm not having one-to-one sessions because we're in lockdown in the UK, so I'm missing quilty friends. So thank you ever so much for tuning in, and hopefully see you again next time.